Fright fans, welcome to the show. It is May 7th. It is the first Wednesday of May. And folks, I promised y'all that I would make sure that on the first Wednesday of the month that we would always cover a couple of episodes of Tales from the Crypt. So time to keep making good on that promise. Tonight, folks, I got another Crypt double feature for you. Now, I've been having fun putting themes to the episodes that I've been covering. Last month, I did the stars of Severance. And so this month, my new obsession right now is the movie Sinners. If you haven't checked that out yet, folks, I got a link to my review right up there in the top for you. But this, folks, is the best film of 2025. It is one of the best vampire movies that has been produced. Therefore, tonight we're going to focus on a pair of episodes surrounding vampires in Tales from the Crypt. There's actually been a few of them. And what I've done to make it a little bit more fun, I put them all here in a random generator. We're going to give it a spin and see which of these episodes we're going to start off with tonight. So let's go ahead and give it a spin. And around it goes. Who's gonna be sucking some blood tonight? It is the reluctant vampire. That's a great place for us to start. Now, this is an episode that I absolutely remember catching when Fox did its first run of these sometime back in 1994. The episode originally premiered in 1991, but I know for a fact that I caught it when Fox ended up showing it. Kind of funny that I'm remembering that I got some scares from this one because this is in reality one of the more tamer episodes of Crypt. Now, the story itself focuses on Donald Longtooth, played by Malcolm McDowell, who happens to be a vampire who works at his local blood bank. The blood bank is in danger of closing because Donald has been stealing blood from its reserves, and faced with no other choice unless he has to go back to the streets and starts killing, Donald decides to take the matter into his own hand and begins killing people around town to replenish the blood bank's reserves. Unfortunately for Longtooth, his boss has found out about his blood-sucking ways and looks to blackmail him to make sure that the blood bank will never close. That is the reluctant vampire, ladies and gentlemen. Now, again, this is not the only episode that we've had with vampires featured here on this show, but even then, this is the most lighthearted out of all of them, to say the very least. I think that this episode plays out honestly like a bit of a sitcom because Donald is presented as this vampire who doesn't really like doing all the traditional vampire stuff. He doesn't want to go hunt innocent victims. He doesn't want to be the brooding vampire. He's got a love interest, a co-worker of his named Sally, at the blood bank that he works at. He hates his boss because of the way that he is treating his love interest, Sally. Like, if you look at this episode, there are so many things that just kind of scream that this is still be set up like a sitcom premise, like My Favorite Vampire. This very well could be something like that. And none of this is helped out by the fact that George Wendt, who plays Norm from Cheers, is playing his boss. Like, there's so many factors here where the majority of the episode really seems like it was made for a sitcom, and being on Fox, that would fit perfectly. Like, even the murders that happen in this, when we see Donald going and killing random people, they're played up for laughs, and it's kind of like the thing you would expect to see in if there was a sitcom about being a serial killer. Like, it would display it the same way that we get in this episode.
A lot of the humor in the episode comes from Malcolm McDowell's Donald just being averse to doing anything violent to people who don't deserve it. So we get a lot of laughs seeing him go around and murder the vagrants of the city he lives in while draining them dry of blood to refill the reserves of the blood bank.
And this ends up bringing in the appearance of Van Helsing, who's played by Michael Berryman. Yes, that same Michael Berryman from The Hills Have Eyes, from Weird Science, from a million other projects here, is coming in and playing Dr. Van Helsing. And I think this is an inspired bit of casting because in the 80s and the 90s, we were so used to seeing Michael Berryman in such these monstrous roles, and that he didn't get a lot of roles, like at least in his adult age, playing like the straight man or playing the normal character or anything. So I think that's a lot of fun to portray him as Van Helsing, because usually you would expect him to be the monster. Instead, he would be the vampire, as opposed to Malcolm McDowell, who is fantastic with the way he portrays this role. Not only that, but he plays Van Helsing opposite Paul Gleason, who is playing the cop that's investigating these murders that Donald keeps committing. Now, I know y'all know who Paul Gleason is. We're talking The Breakfast Club. We're talking Die Hard, Not Another Teen Movie. This guy has done so much, and he brings that same kind of straight humor to this as well, because he's playing opposite Berryman's Van Helsing in much of this, and is incredulous at the idea of there being vampires a part of any of these murders at all. Now, for it being about blood, it again is not a very particularly gory or a very violent episode. Donald does go around and kill a number of people, but again, Donald has this aversion to killing innocent victims. And so we see him making his way around the town, killing the low dregs of society. We're talking muggers, carjackers, purse thieves, things like that. He's looking for bad people to take out. He's basically like a vampire Dexter without the psychopath tendencies behind it.
Malcolm McDowell, who again plays Donald in this, is no stranger to horror projects, and he always brings such a gravitas to the roles that he does. Like, he takes them so seriously, and he does that with Donald here too. So like, we really are on Donald's side of the fact that he doesn't want to be the typical vampire. It makes it so much funnier than it has any right being.
His interactions in his old musty home when he's lighting candles and playing with his rat, like, all of it seems so like good natured. It all seems so like warm and comforting. He just brings a love to this role as Donald Longtooth. And I said at the beginning that this was an episode that I do remember getting scared at as a kid. I think a lot of it had to do with the end of the episode.
You know, the episode is played so comically, there's so many good laughs in it, that when we get to the end, the very morbid ending, where Crosswhite ends up taking a stake to the heart when he's mistaken for Longtooth, I remember as a kid that just absolutely freaking me out, because no matter how bad this guy was, he was still a human being, and he's catching a stake to the heart. So rewatching it again, I can see that change in tone for the episode, and it just definitely makes this one of the more memorable episodes out there.
This is actually one of, if not the best vampire episode that they have in Tales from the Crypt, y'all. So of course I got to talk a little bit about the Crypt Keeper as well too. Season 3's The Reluctant Vampire opens up with the Crypt Keeper dressed up in classic Bela Lugosi Dracula fashion. He's got the white shirt, the necklace, he's got the cape, and he's even practicing the "I want to suck your blood." And it's fun to see, because by season 3, the Crypt Keeper had started really getting into the gimmicks. Every episode, he would likely be dressed up in something that was in the theme of the episode itself. And there were some hints, like location-wise, that were placed in the crypt as well, too. It wasn't as dark as like the first season and a half really portrayed the crypt out to be. But we weren't fully committed yet, was the thing. So in this case here, John Cassier's voice work, again, still finding that sweet spot as well too. He's got the voice worked out. Crypt Keeper is still a little bit gravelly, which is fine. But interestingly enough, up until about the start of season 4, we didn't end each episode with that trademark Crypt Keeper laugh. It actually typically was a variation of it, and it would either like cut into the credits like in the middle of the laugh, right at the very end of it, or in the case of The Reluctant Vampire, we actually would get a little bit of extra time after that was done, which I thought was a lot of fun to catch that, because it's not for the norm for the following 4 seasons that precedes this one. All right, and moving into our second episode of Crypt for the night here, we're going to bring the generator right on back up, because we still have a few other vampire-focused episodes that we can choose from. So let's give it a spin. Let's see which one we're going to end up with. It is Comes the Dawn, the season 6 episode that debuted January 11th, 1995. This is one that I loved as a kid, so I'm excited to talk about this one with all of you. Now, first of all, gotta point out here that I did not catch this one until Sci-Fi was doing reruns of Tales from the Crypt in the late 90s, early 2000s. This focuses on Colonel Parker and Sergeant Burroughs, who are a pair of veterans of Operation Desert Storm who have traveled to Alaska to do some illegal grizzly bear poaching. The soldiers meet local game warden and fellow veteran Jerry Drumbeater, who takes them to an abandoned weather station supposedly used as a hibernation site for bears. Instead, the hunters find themselves becoming the hunted when the station turns out to hold a nest of ravenous vampires. This episode stars Michael Ironside, Bruce Payne, and Vivian Wu. Now, This episode, again, I loved it as a kid because, of course, it's about vampires, but there also wasn't that much mystery to it. We're not lulled into any kind of false idea that we're supposed to like these characters. Usually, in most Tales from the Crypt episodes, we at least have one person that we can really get behind, and then everybody else is usually an asshole. Each of them have like their own reasoning, and some of it is understandable for what's gonna happen in this episode, but none of them are really that particularly likable. If anything, I was a fan of the bartender played by Susan Tyrell more than anyone else because her only beef is that somebody's going after the girl that she's into. Let me know though, am I insane there? Do we like any of the characters in this episode? Tell me in the comments section. Now, the connectivity between these three characters revolves around the fact that Colonel Parker and Drumbeater were involved in the same battle in Desert Storm. Now, this is set up earlier on that Parker had actually saved Drumbeater and her squad mates from certain death.
Now, the twist of the episode is that Colonel Parker is actually the one responsible for the bombing of Drumbeater and her squad during Operation Desert Storm. That bombing left her body ravaged to where her blood was basically poisoned. And this led her to Alaska, where she fell in with a band of vampires and proceeded to basically carry out her revenge for what happened to her by punishing the people that would come to her town to hunt these bears.
She's been taking care of them and bringing victims to them over and over again. And we find out that Drumbeater has been looking for an escape to get away from the darkness, from the cold, from Alaska, from vampires. And she's hoping that Burroughs would be her ticket out of there. She knows what Parker did, and she's giving Burroughs a chance to save himself by agreeing to cut a new deal with her. Now, Burroughs is not aware of any of this, so he just assumes that it's some crazy woman that's trying to split up him and Parker and get a little bit of his money, and that, unfortunately, is his downfall. The vampires in this, though, love the design of them, okay? These are meant to be more animalistic vampires, so they're not going to be even like what we saw, and what I know y'all are thinking, 30 Days of Night, because Alaska and vampire. These are not them. These are very much animalistic vampires, like at the end of From Dusk Till Dawn, like the Reapers in Blade 2. Kind of a little bit of a cross between those. Maybe some Nightbreed in there as well. Like there's a few different influences here on these vampires. But the point is that they're scary. And compared to the vampires that we had already seen in the series up to this point, this was definitely the creepiest depiction of them in the show. They were nightmare inducing, and I remember as a kid watching it and being terrified. Part of that has to do with the ending because Burroughs ends up getting away, and then when he's wondering why isn't the sun come up yet, it's 10 a.m., Drumbeater appears to let him know that the sun doesn't come up for another 2 months. That ending though, y'all, to where she's talking to him with the door slightly open and then tells him that the sunlight's not coming for 2 more months, opens the door and the vampires come out. Y'all, that is nightmare inducing the way that that happens. That is one of the best scenes of the entire show. Even if this episode doesn't end up ranking high for a lot of you, the imagery of that ending is still one of the best that we've gotten. Now, in regards to the Crypt Keeper segment on this one, the Crypt Keeper is at the beach enjoying some sun. And I talked about it just earlier on with the Reluctant Vampire, but now that we're in season 6, part of the gimmick that had been happening for the show is that the Crypt Keeper is going places, but they all end up being in the crypt. He goes to the beach, he's at a stand-up club, he's in a bar, whatever the case is, all of these places apparently seem to be in the crypt. It is the world's best resort, apparently. So the Crypt Keeper's at the beach with a beach babe when somebody ends up tracking some sand onto him, and he tells him he's going to end up getting that person and killing them. And the end of the episode, he got a hold of his man. The Crypt Keeper always gets his man by the end of it. With this, we are very firmly into John Kassir doing the best work here with this role. By season 6, Kassir had worked out the perfect voice for the Crypt Keeper. There's not really that much gravel still into it like we got in those first 3 seasons. We get the gimmicks of things like costumes and things actually going on in the crypt itself. We even have that iconic laugh that is the end of every episode by this point. Kassir is still having so much fun, we can tell in this role, and no matter how ludicrous that these are all getting, and by that point, the Crypt Keeper was a pop culture phenomenon. This is like what, the second episode I've done from season 6, and it's just interesting to see where the Crypt Keeper is at by the end of all of this here. Alrighty, y'all. So that is it for another Tales from the Crypt double feature. I appreciate y'all tuning in for this one here. Remember, the first week of every month, I'm going to drop a Crypt double feature for y'all on Wednesday. So you want to make sure you get subscribed so you don't miss that at all. But I got more great stuff that I want y'all to make sure you're subscribing along to so you don't miss that as well. You can get subscribed to my link tree at linktr.ee/T scary movie. If you get subscribed, that's going to give you access to the YouTube page for the video versions of the show, your favorite podcasting platforms for the audio only versions of the show, my Letterboxd page for movie rankings and movie reviews throughout the year, my TikTok page for full reviews, movie news, and movie premieres, my Twitch page for horror gaming, and my Fangoria shop page where you can enjoy a 20% discount off anything in the Fangoria shop. Make sure to get subscribed, and folks, go check out my playlist. Go check out the old videos in YouTube. I got so many reviews there for you. I got my Spooky Summer Spectacular Parts 1 and 2 up for you to talk about the 10 best movies coming to theaters this summer that you got to go and see. We are covering The Bondsman. We are covering Black Mirror, and we got a lot of great movies coming up here to talk about, including Clown in the Cornfield, Borderline, Final Destination, Bloodlines, Ash. We got so much that we're going over. And not only that, folks, I'm going to be talking about the first episode of the new horror trivia game show, Better Luck Than Chuck, soon as well. You do not want to miss it. I have an interview with the creators of the show coming to y'all very soon, too. Hit that subscribe button. But that is going to do it for me tonight, folks. I appreciate you tuning in. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.